There's footage from 2006 that changed everything we thought we knew about animal intelligence. A researcher puts a mirror in front of an elephant named Happy at the Bronx Zoo. Happy approaches. She stops. She stares. Then she does something no elephant in a controlled study had done before. There's a white X painted on her forehead. She can't see it directly, but in the mirror, she can. And she reaches up with her trunk, touches the mark, brings her trunk back to examine it, then touches the mark again. She knows that reflection isn't another elephant. It's air. Happy had just passed what's called the mirror self-recognition test. And in doing so, she joined one of the most exclusive clubs in the animal kingdom, because most animals failed this test spectacularly. The mirror test is simple. You put a mark on an animal somewhere they can't see without a mirror, usually on their forehead or behind their ear. Then you give them access to a mirror. If they use the mirror to investigate the mark on their own body, they pass. If they ignore it, or if they think the reflection is another animal, they fail. It's testing for the ability to recognize that the image in the mirror is you, not someone else. Humans don't develop this ability until around 18 months old. Before that, babies treat their reflection like another baby. They try to play with it. They don't understand it's them. But after 18 months, something clicks. They recognize themselves. And once that happens, it never goes away. For most animals, it never happens at all. Dogs fail the mirror test. Put a dog in front of a mirror and they'll either ignore it completely or treat it like another dog for a few seconds before losing interest. They don't recognize themselves. Cats file to a same reaction. Brief curiosity, then indifference. Most primates fail. Monkeys, even highly intelligent ones, don't recognize their reflection. They'll react to it as if it's another monkey. Aggressive, curious, social, but not self-aware. But some animals pass, and the list is strange. Great apes pass chimps, bonobos, orangutans, gorillas, most of them. Anyway, not all individuals pass, but enough do that we know the species has the capacity. Dolphins pass. Multiple studies have confirmed it. They investigate marks on their bodies using their reflection. Elephants, like Happy, pass, though not all elephants do. It seems to be individual. Magpies pass. A bird! Researchers in 2008 painted marks on magpies and gave them mirrors. The magpies used the mirrors to scratch at the marks. They knew it was them. And here's the weirdest one. Certain fish. In 2019, researchers tested cleaner wrasse, a small reef fish. They put a mark on the fish's body, gave it a mirror, and watched. The fish looked at its reflection, swam to the bottom of the tank, and tried to scrape the mark off by rubbing against the gravel. It passed. A fish with a brain the size of a grain of rice. That result broke the test, because up until that point, mirror self-recognition was thought to correlate with intelligence, with complex social structures, with consciousness, but cleaner wrasse aren't particularly social. They're not solving puzzles. They're not using tools. So what does passing the mirror test actually mean? Here's where it gets complicated. Some researchers think the test is biased. It assumes that vision is the primary sense, that seeing yourself is how you know yourself. But dogs don't navigate the world primarily through vision. They navigate through smell. So researchers designed a different test. Instead of a mirror, they gave dogs their own urine and the urine of other dogs. Dogs spent significantly more time sniffing the urine that wasn't theirs. They recognized their own scent and found it less interesting. That's self-recognition. Just not visual. So maybe dogs don't fail the mirror test because they lack sense. Maybe they fail because the test doesn't match how they perceive the world. Then there's the question of what self-recognition actually tells us. Does it mean the animal has a sense of self? Does it mean they're conscious? Does it mean they have an inner life? Or does it just mean their brain is good at matching visual input to their own body? Because consciousness is more than recognizing your reflection. It's having thoughts about yourself. It's understanding that you exist as an entity separate from the world around you. The mirror test can't measure that. It can only measure whether an animal understands that a reflection is their body, and those might not be the same thing. There's another problem. Some animals that we're pretty sure are self-aware don't pass the test. Giant pandas, for instance, show behaviors that suggest they manipulate their environment intentionally. But they failed the mere tests. Are they not self-aware? Or do they just not care about marks on their face? Gorillas often fail the mirror test too, but not because they don't recognize themselves, because they avoid eye contact. In gorilla culture, prolonged eye contact is a threat, so when they see their own eyes in a mirror, they look away. Not because they don't know it's them, but because staring, even at yourself, feels wrong. The test didn't account for culture, for social norms, for individual personality. So which animals can recognize themselves in a mirror? The answer depends on what you mean by recognize and what you mean by themselves. If you mean which animals understand that a visual reflection corresponds to their own body, then the list includes great apes, elephants, dolphins, magpies, and possibly some fish. If you mean which animals have self-awareness, a sense of identity, and understanding that they exist as individuals, then we honestly don't know, because the mirror test measures one very specific type of cognitive ability, and we've mistaken it for proof of something much bigger. Happy the elephant touched the mark on her head. That tells us her brain can process reflections in a sophisticated way. What it doesn't tell us is whether she thinks about who she is, whether she has a concept of Happy as a distinct individual with a past and a future. We'd like to think it does, but thinking that might say more about us than it does about her.